All right, guys. It has been a while since I've made a shaving video. I've just been so busy. I've been sick and stuff, and with just kind of normal type sickness, and also kind of got out of the habit. But mainly it's just been trying to prioritize the right things, you know. Um, and today is going to be a wild card event because just about everything is weird or different or new to me. Ah, so let's just have fun with it. I've got this old timey style shaving. I don't think you should call it a scuttle necessarily. Maybe it is. It does. It's not double walled like those other scuttles that like the what Georgetown pottery G20. You know, I've heard people talk a lot about those, and for people who don't make a lot of lather, then those are pretty good. If you want a warm lather, those are pretty good. I just make too much lather for those. I just would run over the rim of those things, and it would be really frustrating. Um, Here's the rest of the gear. Col Conk. This is amber. Col Conk is a glycerin soap that I've had for years. This is the one that came out years and years ago. I believe I bought it on Amazon and maybe Maggard razors. And it came maybe with a set of four. You know, there was the almond, the lime, and the amber, and one other one, bay rum. Yeah. And then we've got a new razor to me. It's an HD, I believe that it's an HD rocket. And this one is different than my normal HD rocket that I've used on this channel because it's made in England. And so it could have a whole different feel to it. I'm looking forward to trying it out. Big surprise when I saw it on the web available, and so I jumped on it, and I'm glad that I got it. I do have water in this little container here. We'll talk about it more later. And this is a Bristle Brushwerks 3-band Badger knot that's been in here soaking. As you can see, it's tilted, and so you kind of have to turn the knot if you want to use that as the soaking. Obviously, not a lot of people are going to be using this type of mug or shaving container. I do not know precisely how it should be used. I did do a lot of research because I was curious. And so hopefully I'll be able to bring that to the table and be able to identify it as a viable shaving alternative. Obviously, many of them were made in the history of shaving around the world. Here's the opposite side of it. So this one, you know, has got a little bit of a, this is not a vintage one. It was made in Taiwan, you know, so it's, if I break it or something like that, it's not a family heirloom, but it's exactly like the ones that are. They can still be bought on especially eBay. Um, the blade today is a new one. It's one that Maggard had on their Black Friday sale, and I'd never heard of it before. I assume it's new, but maybe it's just new to me. The Gillette 365. I expect it'll be good because most Gillette blades do well with me, especially when you put them in a Gillette razor, because when Gillette designs their stuff, they obviously do a lot of testing with their own blades, and so often they're a good match. Um, with the rocket, one of the ways you can tell it's a rocket, the rocket movement here, that little gap got smaller. The knob moves in and out. There are other razors that have a similar knob, but it stays the same. And so that's kind of a trademark. The handle here is thicker than the super speed style rockets. Brand new blade. Put that in a place where it's not going to get water on it. So the back of the blade is empty, blank. And then 365, yeah, that's ink printed, that's not laser etched. Stainless. Now, somebody I trust once said that all blades are layered with some type of Teflon, some type of coating to preserve them during shipment, to preserve the edge, to prevent rust, that kind of thing. And so even if it may not say that it has something, it actually does, is what that person said. But maybe that's why I haven't tried this one, is because it's stainless. Manufactured by Gillette, India. So maybe this is a blade that is more for the Indian market than the American one. Yeah. And copyright 2015. And then it's got rupees as the unit of money. So that's probably what it is, right? It's not a new blade. It's just it's not really marketed as much to the U.S. market. It was a cheap buy on Maggard's on Black Friday, and I'd never tried it before. So that's another new thing. We're going to try the slurry lather method with the shaving mug. I think most of the times that when you can say shaving mug and mean this kind of arrangement. So let's just show it to you. You know what? Let's do a different video about that. We don't need to take up time to do that now. I did fill it with warm water, but I'm not trying to get a warm lather shave because I think the water is just going to lose that warmth over time. Just a quick mention about what's going on. You've got a water reservoir down here, and then your soap reservoir is at the top. Pour it out. And these holes, obvious, they will let residual water from your soap puck drain down away to keep your soap from sitting in water and degrading over time. That's a good idea. And so, soap puck holder, it's not designed to be a lather bowl. You're not designed to work up an entire lather right here on the top. I think it's mainly for face lathering, and it's a loading kind of situation, a loading bowl, if you will. The glycerin soap here from Col Conk, it gets a bad rap by some people, but it is a very good performing soap in my opinion. Slickness is excellent. I don't like the amber scent as much, but this is so old that it might not have too much scent anyway, and I can't smell it because I've got COVID again. I had it in November, I think, and now I've got it again here in late December. Must be a different strain or something like that. And so this is going to give me a good shaving lather in terms of slickness and performance. A little bit different camera setup today. You can probably tell the angle is different. Normally, you guys are right over there looking at me this way. And so I got a new little thing that I'm trying. The camera is actually hooked onto the mirror by one of those flexible tripods with the legs that are all posable and stuff. Figured I'd try it out. The brush here is Bristle Brushwerks. Neat ergonomic handle, nice pearlized design here. And I chose this one because the tips here are not super soft. They're definitely not treated. I don't know if it's a silver tip. It is a 3-band because we can clearly see this band right here. If this dark went all the way to the handle, then it would be a 2-band. I also chose it because it's a fairly wide knot with a fairly short loft. Be interesting to see if it works with the slurry lather. He's been soaking for a while. Now my assumption here with this type of shaving mug is that the shaver would use this as a water reservoir to, you know, refresh his brush if he needs to soak his brush beforehand if he wants to do that. And then you'd load up here, and then you'd start lathering on your face and work it. Let's pretend that this is a straight razor. These were obviously popular back when people shaved with straight razors, and so the little gap right there is perfect for keeping your razor in a safe location off of your counter. Does it work as well for a shorter handled Gillette? Let's just take a look and see if it would be worth trying to do that. Now, not long enough for this particular one, but obviously there are longer handled razors. But nope, not quite wide enough for that. So you could keep your straight razor laid across it if you wanted to. And so then I think after you do the loading with the water here in the bottom reservoir, that's just your place to go back and dip. And so in a way, if you're using a straight razor, this whole setup here might be all you need, and you wouldn't have to be in front of a sink, maybe. I'm also putting out this video with this because there might be some of you guys out there who are watching that have actually experienced watching their grandfather or father shave with one of these. And I'd love your input. I'd love your comments. Because some of us are just guessing with some of this older shaving equipment because sometimes, in my case, there's been some lapses. Enough time has gone by that people have just forgotten, and grandfathers have passed away, that sort of thing. So that information, my wife is a very smart person, and one of the things she says that I often quote is, and I don't know if she is quoting somebody else, but when a person dies, it's like a library has burned down. And that really is true with our shavers of the past. Our grandfather and stuff, they're no longer around to ask these kind of questions. So now I've put some water in there, and we'll just see how everything goes. Let's get this brush nice and soaking, because that's one of the aspects of the slurry lather method. Now, I've told you guys that the slurry lather method is one that may be what many of our grandfathers have used in the past, because it's very kind of intuitive. It's also fast, and so some of them may have used it without, of course they didn't name it, you know, and maybe it had a name and I've just never known what it is. But I don't think methods had names back then because there wasn't an internet forum talking about it, right? So we're going to get this nice and saturated with water. We can do that by dipping it into the reservoir. Okay, and then we're going to load until it feels right. I could just leave this on the counter, but then you couldn't see it, right? So it's moving around. That may affect things. This is not going to be a definitive test if something goes wrong for either this brush, this soap, you know, in terms of the slurry lather method. But if it goes right, then it could validate everything. If you were to leave the soap in place, then obviously it would dry and not move. Okay, there we are. We definitely have some suds in the gap around the soap. I'm not really seeing too much in the brush here. So this may not be great. So what I'm going to do is kind of do a little dip into the reservoir there. I forgot to get my face wet. I have a couple days growth. All right. So the reason I'm trying this brush with the slurry lather method is because it's not a super soft brush. It has, it's a 3-band that is not very, load a little bit more soap here. It's a 3-band that is not super soft. It is also not treated like many 2-bands are. Okay, this is not very much of a slurry because the nature of this puck situation meant that the water was evacuated from the brush, but that's okay. So we're not really going to think of this as a slurry lather. We're going to switch our minds and think of this as, let's use this shaving scuttle. Get it a little wetter now. So I chose this brush because of the not soft tips. I chose it because of kind of the chubby nature of it as a badger. Most of my badgers have a little bit more loft for this amount of width. All right, let's try that. And the brush can do whatever you want. You can lay it sideways like that. You could put it back in, but then that would kind of wash away a lot of your lather. And now, I forgot to load up the razor with the blade. Really excited to try out the British Rocket. So many times when I'm comparing a British version of a vintage Gillette razor to the equivalent American version, the British one comes out on top. It is moving through the hair easily. There is a little resistance, but there's zero tugging. When you're shaving multiple days of growth off, there's a couple ways you can go that I've often used. One of them is to just kind of do one pass on your whole shave, and you're definitely not trying to get all the hair off in the first pass. Another way is to do like I did at first, small movements, repeating the same area until you've kind of gotten 95% off. Just whichever way you like best, you can do that. One means you do less passes, but they're slower passes. The other method, you do more passes, but they're quicker. So the reason this is not a slurry lather is because I wasn't really putting a slurry on my face without a lot of work. Because the soap was not allowed to load onto the brush while having a bunch of water stay on the brush. The nature of the soap being up without having any walls to it meant that the water came out of the brush. But because I kept dipping back in, like I dipped just now before this pass, I still ended up with a nice amount of water with the amount of soap that I have on my face. And so I think I'm kind of achieving the same result, just doing it slightly differently. Second pass now. This right now does feel like a much better version of my American version, of my American HD, it seems to have a better grip on the blade, and so it's much smoother. The other one, I think, may have been geared a little bit more aggressively, and so it might be better for some of you guys, right? But I think one of the cool things about a good grip is even when it's a mild exposure, that sort of thing, even when it's more comfortable, more smooth, it's still shaving really well. Second pass down pretty quickly. A quick rinse. Because I'm using a lot of water in these passes here, I'm not trying to put together a mature lather, and that is a slurry lather trait. In the first couple of passes, you won't end up with a mature lather because you've got what I think is the slurry of mostly water with the soap particles floating around in it. Now, by the third pass, because your brush was able to retain the water, then you end up with a mature lather. That's not going to happen here because I'm kind of having to reset before each one. But this soap is being great. Very slick. I don't need it to be cloud-like and Santa's beard-like, because often that means it's too dry. Yeah, really liking this rocket. It's smooth. It is what I was hoping the HD American version was going to be like. I think the American version just has more exposure. Of course, it could be the blade, but I think it's the razor. Oh, this is terrific. Because, and the reason I'm remembering this is because when I first got my American Rocket HD, looks exactly like this from, without looking made in England, you know. I really liked the aesthetics of it. I like the thicker handle. I like the higher weight, you know, because the super speeds have thinner handles. So I wanted to really enjoy it as a razor. But it just wasn't this smooth. This 365 blade is excellent. Excellent. Wouldn't it be great if these were super cheap? That would be cool. I have to look online and see what the bulk price is. Often, in case you don't know, they will take the tucks like this, and they'll have 5 blades in each one, and then they'll give you 20 tucks with a 100 count. In many cases, they'll still be in the tuck form, and your price will be for the 100. And so often, if you're just buying these 5 at a time, you're not getting a best price deal. So look out for the bulk packaging, and you could save yourself a lot of money. So there we go. That's 3 passes. Let me get a good rinse. So this is kind of a historic shave, literally, because it comes from history. The method of using a shaving mug like this, the vintage Gillette razor, the soap that has been around for a very long time, all these things, part of shaving history. Unfortunately, I hear that over the last year or so, Col Conk has redesigned their glycerin soap formula, and it is different now. And I think the word I'm hearing is it's not nearly as good. So maybe it's going to start deserving the reputation of not being a very good soap. But these old ones that were this glycerin formulation here, really good performance for the price. Not a good reputation for some reason, but they're a good glycerin soap. In my opinion, these old ones are. So that's it. I used the mug here, the little well, to just kind of, before each pass or whenever I needed to, dip the corner of my brush in to have more water on my face. It worked really well. I did use the sink to rinse off my razor between uses, but that's something you wouldn't do often if you're using a straight razor. But maybe with a safety razor, it's good to have it. But I mean, yeah, this is kind of a whole shave in one, if you want it to be. I will have to try this brush again with a more normal slurry lather situation to make sure that it's good, but I think it will be. Give it a good rinse. My face has a good rinse, and I'm going to use a balm that doesn't have too much scent, and it's a high performance balm. If you have really dry skin that needs nourishment after the shave, then Aqua Velva Sensitive 5-in-1 was referred to me by someone who was in that situation, very dry skin, because it really works well. It's not too expensive, and it's available in many of the big box stores, and definitely available online easily. And so I have oily skin, and so I haven't really needed to use it. I don't need to smell anything today, so I don't need a splash. And so it's a great day to use up this very practical and skin-friendly product. Good to be shaving back with you guys. It's been a while. Buzz and Hakime and a couple people have already just replied to a past video that I was able to post. And they were glad to see me back posting. And it's really great talking with you guys online, and I appreciate the thoughts. And so now let's get a good rinse on that brush. Very important to get that all cleaned out. Because this is so short of a loft, what they've probably done here is the knot is sunken more into the handle socket here. And indeed, I can feel a little blank space. And so let's say this knot, the hole here, was 28 millimeters. The knot they chose may just be a 26 millimeter knot, and it's just expanding out, because it's set so deeply. But the cool thing is, when you set the knot yourself in the handle, you can set it whatever you want. And so this one may have been requested from Bristle Brushworks to have that done, to set it more deep. Maybe the person bought the handle separately and set it themselves. Either one is good. And so I wanted to test out this type of brush. I think it's holding water pretty easily. Like I said, it just didn't work as well with this type of having the soap sticking up with no place for the water to go. If there's walls to the soap as you're loading, the water stays inside, and then you're able to bring a really wet brush to your face. All right, let's give it a good rinse. Don't use Col Conk a lot, and so I'm going to put him back in his plastic container. I also like the lime and the bay rum, and definitely the almond. That's the one I think I was not remembering before in the 4-pack. I do like those better. The amber here was actually in my please sell me, box. But I wanted to try it with a slurry lather, and I think I've proved that it's just fine with the slurry lather. So one of the things I like about this vantage point is that if I tilt my chin up, my camera is lower, and so you could probably have in this shave a better view as to what I'm shaving. So that's pretty nice. You may not get to see as well what's in my lather bowl, but you know what? The mirror that this camera is mounted on pivots. And so maybe it would be easy for me to use the mirror to then show you what's in the bowl, the lather bowl, if I need to. So after towel stropping, this is what this brush looks like. As I consider whether I want to use this brush for a real slurry lather later, I think I'm pretty confident that it's going to work just fine. And I'm going to use it later for sure. But and I think the reason, and this hit me, is if the brush is good at holding a reasonable amount of water, even just a medium amount of water, it's going to be fine. The only brushes that I've come across that needed extra manipulation, extra changes in the slurry lather technique was like this little guy right here. See how tight I can squeeze his bristles? There's a lot of space. It's not a very dense board knot. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of room in there that doesn't hold the water. And so only with brushes that aren't good at holding water, those are the only ones that I've ever had a problem with the slurry lather method. So I'm confident that this brush is going to be fine. I'm looking forward to trying it out later. I'm going to loosen up the cap here, run some good water through it, get that soap out of there. This may have better audio because my face is closer to the microphone. Let him sit in a safe place away from kids, and we're good to go. Anything else we need to say? I don't think so. I think that's it. Thanks for joining me. Let me know what you think about the video, the camera angle, that sort of thing. If you're familiar with my past angle at this location, normally you might see the corner of the shower curtain or something like that. It's possible that the more diagonal angle would show different aspects of the shaving process in a better way. So if there is a difference that you can tell, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, who now is realizing just before this video that I've got COVID again, but I'm on the end track of it. It's just a cold. It's the symptoms I'm feeling, some fatigue, but that's really about it. I'm sure I'll bounce back pretty quick. Hopefully I don't get an ear infection like I did back in October or November, because that was a real bear that took a while to work itself out. All the best to you guys. It's almost Christmas where I am right now. Hopefully it won't take me too long to get this video published. And happy holidays, many returns of the holiday season. Whatever holidays you celebrate this time of year. Me, Christmas. So it's a Merry Christmas from me and good wishes from me. Take care now.